Today, I'm breaking down 8 outstanding B2B influencer marketing campaigns from lean startups to billion-dollar brands. And I won't just show you some clever campaign concepts. To make this super actionable, I'll break down the actual frameworks behind each campaign so that you can create your own equally effective yet entirely unique influencer campaign. And these ideas are applicable whether you have a $10,000 budget or a $1 million budget for this quarter. So Slate is a video editing platform, and they started investing in LinkedIn influencer marketing. And according to their social media manager, Christina, it's actually proven to be one of their top performing channels.
It's been incredible for us. It's done more for us than any paid organic, strategy has ever done.
And one of their most successful campaigns was this Tea Talks box, where they sent real gift boxes to social media managers. So here's how they managed the campaign.
We tossed around some ideas for a gifting box campaign, and we're like, how are we going to do it? And we heard the community, and we're like, they need to spend less time on their phones. So then we came up with the brick idea. We came up with a digital Tea Talks ideas box. We came up with a journal, candles, all the stuff that a social media person could detox a bit or be more intentional about less doom scrolling.
But the gift box wasn't what made this really brilliant. To get even more engagement, they had the main influencers tag other social media managers who Slate would then also send a gift box to.
So we had our main influencers post about the box, and then we had other people nominate social media people in the comments. So that was great for the algorithm. And then we'd pick some winners out of the comments of people who really deserved it. And then we'd send them the boxes by DMing them, being like, hey, you won a box. So that's great because then they know who I am as a community manager. So all around, it was great for community building as well.
So what's kind of the framework behind this? Well, first, sending gift boxes really does work in B2B. But what really made this campaign super effective was the fact that the influencers were then nominating their friends for the giveaway. And this is great because, well, first, it generates a lot more engagement. Secondly, the people being nominated were also Slate's ICP. And then finally, creators really like to be able to add value to their audience. If you've been on LinkedIn, you probably heard about Zapier taking over Zion National Park. So here's what happened. So Zapier flew 20 influencers to Utah for essentially the ultimate glamping experience. And during these 3 days, they had hackathons and talked about AI workflows. But here's why it was actually genius. Well, first, it was a very unique, memorable experience that was also beneficial to the creators because they were able to build relationships with other creators. And then secondly, Zapier learned 2 valuable things. First, they learned about the latest industry trends. Your influencers usually know where trends are headed because they hear about everything from their own audience. And then secondly, it's really good customer research because Zapier can learn how their customers are actually using their product to solve real problems. And this is going to help them improve their content, their messaging, and even their sales funnel. But let's say that you don't have a 6-figure influencer marketing budget. How can you duplicate at least a version of this campaign? So one way that I actually executed a version of this framework was with a virtual pizza party. So I literally sent pizza to a bunch of influencer marketers' door at the same time. And then we all just jumped on Zoom and talked about what was working and wasn't working in influencer marketing. And honestly, it was great. The pizza concept made it feel a lot more like a party than just a traditional webinar. And there wasn't really a clear agenda. It was kind of just more of a fun hangout. And I pretty much just acted as a moderator for the conversation. And we didn't have the influencers actually post about it on social media, but I did record the meeting, and then I was able to use snippets from it for our content. So even if you can't fly a bunch of influencers to a unique location, think about how you can create a really unique, special event that allows them to form new relationships. Because when you provide value to those influencers, they're going to remember your brand as essentially the catalyst behind some of their most important relationships. But it isn't just the creative campaigns that do really well. The most effective campaigns are usually just the ones that illustrate how to actually use your product to achieve the dream outcome. And that's it. And perspective's a really great example of this. So it's a B2B SaaS company that allows you to just easily build marketing funnels. And to promote it, they partner with YouTube creators to use the product and then just make a video demoing how they actually used it to get really great results. So for example, this influencer made over $50,000 just by using the Perspective Funnel Builder. So the campaigns obviously convert really well because, well, the videos just show the audience how to use the product to make thousands of dollars. So who wouldn't buy? So what's kind of the framework here? Well, instead of just asking your influencer to talk about the product, ask them to actually use the product and then just share their results with their audience. In fact, Chris Cunningham of ClickUp actually does something pretty similar. So they have all of their influencers get on a call with CS, and then they identify real ways to optimize their workflow and then just kind of share the results.
I go to like 20 influencers. I'm like, hey, look, I'm not going to pay you yet because I don't know if you like my product. Like, I'm not just going to have you go live if you use ClickUp or not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one of my best trainers, the best trainer in the game. And I'm going to find use cases for you. They're going to meet with you for an hour. And they're going to find use cases, see if they can help your business or anything you do, and make sure to see if ClickUp would add any value to you at all. And if it does, then let's talk and then let's see if we can do a campaign and something around that.
The next campaign is pretty similar. So Vector is a B2B platform that spent $12,000 just to test LinkedIn influencer marketing. And the test ended up generating a stunning 1.1 million in pipeline. And the campaign was pretty simple. So Jess shared that during month 1, the influencers promoted a product launch. During month 2, they shared their take on key research findings. And in month 3, they promoted the core product. So as you can see, there was nothing really dramatically creative about the campaign. And that's really the point that I'm trying to make here. You don't need to have a super creative campaign idea to make influencer marketing work. Just have your influencers actually use the product and then ask them to share the results. Another reason this campaign was really effective is that they partnered with very niche influencers. The average follower count was only about 13,000, but those people had a very high trust with their audience. So what's the framework here? Well, don't try to get too fancy with B2B. I find that a lot of people try to get overly creative, and the core value of the product is usually lost in essentially the spectacle of the campaign itself. And also consider doubling down on niche influencers with high authority of their audiences over those mega influencers. This was a tip from both Alex, the influencer marketing manager of Perspective, and Akshaya, the head of brand at Storylane. But I will add a caveat that this is a tip that's more relevant for B2B brands with like a narrow audience rather than say like prosumer brands or B2B brands that have a very broad ICP. But it's definitely something to consider. Now, I realize that I just talked about the importance of clarity over cleverness, but I really have to include this influencer marketing example from Hootsuite. So they had a VHS tape campaign to promote the launch of their feature, Owly GPT. Now, for some context, the feature itself is designed to solve a key problem with ChatGPT. So with ChatGPT, you often have outdated information because it's primarily based on website data. But with Owly GPT, it gives you up-to-date information because it's trained on social media data. So to represent the problem of outdated information, they sent VHS tapes to social media managers. And it picked up a lot of attention. So what's the framework here? Well, identify the pain point that your product solves, and then identify a symbolic object to that problem itself. So, for example, maybe your platform allows people to have like a single seamless experience rather than tying a bunch of tools together. So maybe you could do something like have duct tape or string to kind of create that analogy. But that actually wasn't my favorite campaign that Hootsuite did. They also ran a few YouTube influencer marketing campaigns where they had the influencers target high-value keywords. So for example, this video shows up in both the video results in Google search and the YouTube search results for the keyword best social media management tools. And this is really brilliant because it boosts SEO efforts by showing up for relevant keywords. In fact, Sarah Adam revealed that targeting keywords is actually a key element of Wix's influencer marketing strategy. They now ask their influencers to just target specific high purchase intent keywords on YouTube. This next campaign was also one of my favorites. So Synthesia released a feature that allows you to dub yourself in any language, and then to promote it, they launched their Dubbing Around the World campaign. Influencer manager Ash told me how this campaign worked.
So we actually just went live with something called AI dubbing around the globe. So we're launching a new feature end of this month. It's an updated version of our AI dubbing tool, which kind of keeps your lip sync the same, keeps your voice the same, but I could speak to the camera in English and then I could dub myself to speak 30 plus languages, so Spanish, Italian, whatever it might be. And it'll be my voice, it'll be my mannerisms, my lip sync will be the same, but I'll be speaking in a different language. So we worked with 5 different creators. We called it AI Dubbing Around the Globe. So we chose one from Germany, Italy, Spain, India, and Brazil. So each was speaking in a different language. They all recorded their own content in their native language, and then we dubbed that into English so you could see how the tool works.
So what's the takeaway behind this campaign? Because I will admit that this is kind of one of those campaigns that's a little challenging to duplicate just because the feature itself was so unique. But there is one important takeaway. So notice that Ash is working with international influencers who speak other languages. I haven't really seen that many companies working with international influencers who speak different languages, and this is actually a really great way for you to not only reach a new audience, but also identify new creators to work with. But how do you actually find international creators, especially if they don't speak your language? Well, you can actually use Favikon to sort by language and region. This makes it really easy to quickly find a list of relevant creators. You can also still filter by follower count, engagement per platform, and even identify other brands that they've already worked with. The next example comes from Storylane. So they partnered with a handful of creators to publish essentially like comedic skits. So here's an example.
Hello, you'd like to see a demo of our product. See the product. Okay, hold your horses, okay? Slow down there, Sally. Let me talk you through how this is going to work. First, some questions. When would you like to see our product? Today?
And these really worked well because they made fun of a key problem that Storylane's product actually solves, which is that most brands lose sales just because people don't want to wait to get on a product demo. The takeaway from this campaign is to look at the problems that your product actually solves and then create skits that kind of poke fun at those problems. Now, an objection that I hear a lot is, well, do these skits actually drive sales? Well, Storylane's head of marketing said that he did notice that they had one of their best sales periods to date during the time that they were running these campaigns. So I would say probably. The last example I'll give you is from Instantly. So if you check out Instantly's YouTube channel, you'll see that the person who produces the video is not actually a member on staff at Instantly. He's actually an agency owner who actually helps other agencies grow. So I think that they contracted this person for a few years just to produce videos for Instantly's YouTube channel. He has links to his own content, which probably makes the collaboration more beneficial for him. And this is beneficial for a couple of reasons. So first, by having a real user create the videos, the content is much higher quality because he can dive into real use cases and he really dives deeper than just the best practices. And it's also great customer research for Instantly because they learn how people are actually using the product. But I would say most importantly, Instantly gets to own that audience. So one of the problems with influencer marketing is that you might earn some customers, but you don't actually build an audience. But in this case, Instantly does own the audience. So rather than just working with influencers to promote your brand to their audience, think about how you can work with influencers to actually build your own branded content. I would look for existing customers who already have like a small YouTube channel and then just ask if they'd be willing to create content for your brand's YouTube channel. So those are a handful of my favorite B2B influencer marketing campaign examples. But you may have noticed one critical element that all of these campaigns have in common. They all found the perfect B2B influencers to partner with. And this is probably one of the most critical elements of running a B2B influencer marketing campaign. And it's also quite tricky because, well, for one thing, many of the best influencers are already booked with other brands. And secondly, well, niche influencers are a little bit difficult to find. So that's why I created this video over here that talks about exactly how you can find the very best B2B influencers for any campaign. So even if you're already in a crowded market or just have no idea where to start, this video is going to solve that problem for you.